Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering here from Scholars Games in Brockton, Massachusetts. We've got some Wednesday night Legacy. Happens every week at 7:30. I am on Storm. You'll note the new Storm Tracker playmat has convenient areas for your mana and storm count, keeping everything nice and clean. And that is a custom leather playmat from Old Gods, my new gaming accessory line. And then we've got a Gitaxian Probe showing a handful of goodies there, including Force of Will, and that's going to pair up with Cabal Therapy to hit the Deathrite Shaman. So slowing Kyle's hand here. Kyle, the owner of Scholars Games. Little draw go here, and him to Torok. That is not a card that Storm enjoys. Hitting Dark Ritual and Cabal Ritual. So +5 mana taken off the table. And that is just a devastating draw off the top there. Ponder. Into a fetch. Pass. Passing back here. Storm hobbled by that Hymn to Torok. That is so much mana. Now still a Force of Will to contend with. And there's a Jace the Mind Sculptor. And goes immediately into Fate Seal mode. A fetch land off the top. Fetch is pretty reasonable versus Jace. And looks like some hot sauce put on the bottom. So drawing live cards here. The fetch land's going to need to be used carefully here. When a card is left on top, going to go ahead and shuffle and try and get a draw toward a card that could potentially win the game. And Snapcaster him knocking things right back down. A Cabal Ritual and a Lotus Petal. So Mana Source is taken down again. Ooh, and Past in Flames here. A very tempting card there. Would have drawn a Force of Will. Got the Lotus Petal and the land. So could have actually fired off a Past in Flames there, drawing that Force of Will. Gitaxian Probe into Dark Ritual. Probe leaving it on top, seeing double Force into Jace. That is problematic. So there's going to be able to be a Past in Flames this turn. Oh, and instead passing. Trying to play around these Force of Wills. I think getting a little too cute here. If this works out, this is really playing toward one all-in hand. Storm is 4. 8 black mana. Now going to attempt to cast 2 Past in Flames in the same turn. He's got the 5 mana to hard cast, and then he should still have Force and blue card. And there it is. So Past in Flames shot down twice. Czech pile taking it down. So a very conservative line. Been a couple of weeks since this match took place, so it's not fresh in my mind. Seeing it again, to me, that looked like a very conservative line. It looked like Past in Flames could have been jammed way earlier, creating a situation where Force of Will would have been used, and perhaps another spell could have been drawn that also could have had a chance to win the game. That to me looked just too conservative, giving too many draw steps to the Czech pile, really maximizing the usefulness of all of their forces. See if game 2 is better played. Czech pile has a lot of difficult to deal with cards. There's one card in particular that's caught my attention with Storm, and that's Leovold. The fact that he shuts off all of your sculpting is hugely problematic. He also makes your best kill, Tendrils of Agony, really untenable. What ends up happening is the Tendrils targets the opponent. They get to draw a ton of cards and very likely draw into a Flusterstorm post-board, which would allow them to counter the copies of Tendrils. So it's a very problematic creature in that he stops really both ends of the lines of play, both the early game sculpting and the actual end game itself. So for that, I attempted to run Bantu's Last Reckoning. The card is hot garbage, as you might expect. I did bring it in a few matches, and it was pretty much always just terrible. Likely try. There's a cons card, dragon something. It's like 1 red, and it does 4 damage to a red or white or blue creature and cannot be countered. So I'm going to be giving that a go, just to try and have some better answers to Leovold. The guy just does so much work. Being a 3/3 is just absolutely tremendous. Considered Lightning Bolt as an option. Probably not the worst thing ever, but I will need to test it. The fact that it's actually pretty spicy when you're storming off is kind of interesting. All right, here we go. Starting out Underground Sea. Into Ponder. Setting things up. None of that is going to cut it, so it's all getting shuffled back in. Going to get a fresh one and likely pass the turn. Preordain. Found with that. And going to go ahead and Ponder again. Like some mana. Czech pile, very dangerous once it gets rolling with its Hymn to Torox. Snapcaster for him. Very, very punishing. Not a ton of counter magic, but certainly enough and of high enough quality that it must be contended with. Like you're going to drag them into the later stages of the game and have them stuck with a bunch of cards like Daze, which aren't really going to be able to stop you. All of their counters are generally quite good. Force of Will, Flusterstorm, amongst the best. And there's Lotus Petal. And reaching for a die. Dark Ritual. Looks like we're going to be doing a force a will check here into duress. So the ritual resolved. 2 black floating still, storm of 5. And it looks like a surgical happening. And this is going to be quite bad. So surgical fired off, adding to storm, decreasing Kyle's life total. But still going to have a ball ritual and LED along with infernals. So looks like Empty the Warrens is going to be coming right up here. Unless a lethal tendrils is possible. Is it? We got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Actually, lethal tendrils. The 2 life from the surgical going to be quite painful here. So let's see. Double force and a blue card. That is not the case, so this should do it. Taking that force of will, LED, storm 6, storm 7 with the Cabal ritual, and then 1 floating, respond, crack. Oh, and empty. Oh, that is super ring rust. Oh, maybe the tendrils got boarded out. I can only assume that that's the case. Is that tendrils was in fact sideboarded out. Just because of how bad it is versus Leovold. See if that comes back in. That was a lethal tendrils. And it looks like that's exactly what's happening here. The tendrils getting looked at. Real consideration. And it looks like it is going to come back in. Empty the Warrens generally feels like a backup plan with the deck when you're not able to tendrils. Of course, if you're able to just kill them with tendrils, why wouldn't you? Empty the Warrens usually being done for less than lethal. Just creating a board state which can't be easily undone. In general, Czech pile will have 1 or 2 cards post-board. That's pretty typical. A lot of the time they'll have a card like Toxic Deluge or Marsh Casualties. Sometimes they'll have cuter stuff like Golgari Charm. But just in general, they don't have a ton of sweepers to handle all of those goblin tokens. So we are tied a game apiece here, going into game 3. Storm mulling. Underground Sea from Kyle. Fetch land here into Ponder. Underground Go likely means that we're looking at some combination of Force and or Hymn to Turok. No Death Right on the first turn. No Sculpting. You gotta have something making the hand worth keeping. And there is definitely a card that makes the hand worth considering. A Hymn to Turok, hitting a Dark Ritual and a land. Brainstorm. Finding an LED. And it looks like could have possibly tried a mini empty there, but if Kyle has Force of Will, would have been really in a lurch. They're going to try to continue sculpting instead. Looked like it might have been possible. If I did see those cards correctly, it looked like Lotus Petal and Cabal Ritual along with that LED and the Infernal, would have meant going completely hellbent to attempt an empty, which might actually be the right line here. Tough to say without having a lot of reps with the deck lately. And there's a Force of Will. So if Kyle didn't have Force of Will before, he certainly does have it now. The card is unmistakable. Force of Will has just a beautiful contrast of red against the blue border. Really is unmistakable against a hand of cards like that as it flashes past. I mean, you can see it on the other side of a room. Beautifully contrasted card. The new EMA ones, however, fetching a bit of a premium over the old ones. I gotta say, I am actually a fan of the older art just because of how iconic I think it is. Deathrite Shaman. So a clock has finally started here. Force of Will. Gonna give Pyle a real sense of security here, and then Snapcaster for yet another Hymn to Torok, leaving just 2 cards in hand. And Duress seeing Fluster and 2 Force of Wills. And Cabal Therapy hitting the 2 forces, so that was about as good a turn as you could hope for. Gonna need to draw well from here, but wow, clearing out Force of Will and 2 Force of Wills and a Flusterstorm for just 2 mana. Now a 4-turn clock, definitely gonna need to draw something good here. Another Cabal Therapy. This one's not gonna matter. Oh, no, Kyle does have a hand back. Oh, and another Hymn to Torok. That one might do it. Empty the Warrens going to the bin. The good thing that Tendrils came in, at least have some semblance of an out here. Empty the Warrens before was the only win condition. And now it's going to be now or never. Brainstorm. LED, Infernal, and 1 mana shy from having that matter at all. That's going to do it. If I had brought in Bantu's Last Reckoning, would have been able to cast it here. But it is not even in the list at this point. And that is a wrap there. Czech Pyle taking it down in 3.
That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.